You feel it before you can explain it. Something shifts. Something is off. You're sitting across from the person you love, and everything looks normal. They're smiling, talking, acting like everything is fine. But deep inside your chest, something tightens. Your stomach drops. A quiet voice in the back of your mind whispers, "That doesn't add up." You don't have proof. You don't have evidence. You just have that feeling. And then the self-doubt starts. Am I imagining this? Am I being paranoid? Maybe I'm the problem. So you push the feeling down. You convince yourself everything is okay. You smile back. But that feeling doesn't go away. It just gets quieter, until it doesn't. Here's what you need to hear right now: you are not paranoid. Your brain is pattern matching. It is doing exactly what it was built to do, detecting danger. That uneasy feeling is not weakness. It is your mind's smoke detector going off. There may be no visible fire yet. But somewhere, something is burning. Studies show that most people are lied to 1 to 2 times every single day, by people close to them. Not strangers. Not enemies. People they trust. This video is about what happens next. Before we go any further, I need to say something directly to you. Most people who needed this information found it too late. After the betrayal. After the heartbreak. After the damage was already done and they were sitting alone trying to piece together what went wrong. You are here now. That means something. If this video finds even one person before the storm hits, before the lies pile up, before the trust is broken beyond repair, then it will have done its job. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because this channel exists for one reason: to give you the psychological tools that most people are never taught. The kind of awareness that protects you, not just in love, but in every relationship in your life. The people who got hurt wished they had this. You have it now. Don't scroll away. What comes next could change everything. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. You are not bad at catching liars because you're stupid. You're bad at catching liars because you're human. And the human brain, for all its power, has a built-in flaw when it comes to deception. Scientists call it the truth bias. It means that by default, your brain assumes the people around you are telling the truth. Especially the people you love. Especially the people you've chosen to build a life with. Your mind does not walk into a conversation ready to detect lies, it walks in ready to connect. And connection requires trust. This is not a design flaw. It's actually what makes human relationships possible. Without some level of default trust, we could never form bonds. We could never fall in love. We could never build families or friendships. The truth bias is what holds society together. But it is also the exact door that liars walk through. Dr. Timothy Levine, one of the world's leading researchers on deception, spent decades studying how people detect lies. His findings were both fascinating and alarming. Most people, even trained professionals, can only detect lies at a rate slightly better than random chance. Around 54%. That means nearly half the time, a skilled liar walks right past you and you never even flinch. Why? Because when you love someone, your brain does something even more powerful than truth bias. It puts on what I call the love blindfold. Think about it. When you care deeply about someone, your mind instinctively looks for reasons to believe them. It fills in gaps with generous assumptions. It explains away inconsistencies. It tells you, they wouldn't lie to me. I know them. I trust them. And the liar? They know this. Maybe not consciously. But they feel it. They sense how much you want to believe them. And they use it. Imagine trying to read a map while someone is shaking your hands. That is what it feels like to detect deception inside a relationship. Your emotions are doing the shaking. Your judgment never has a steady surface to work from. Here is the most important thing to understand about liars in relationships: they don't defeat your intelligence. They exploit your love. That is the first truth you must hold on to as we go deeper. Now let's go inside the mind of the liar. Not to feel sorry for them. Not to excuse them. But because if you want to catch a predator, you have to understand how it hunts. Most people picture a liar as someone nervous and shifty, someone who stumbles over their words and looks away when they speak. And yes, some liars are like that. But the most dangerous ones? They are smooth. They are warm. They look you directly in the eyes. They say exactly what you need to hear. And they have been doing it for so long that it no longer even feels like lying to them. This is where dark psychology begins. Habitual liars, especially in romantic relationships, don't just tell individual lies. They build systems. They construct entire alternative realities, brick by brick, until the fake world they've created feels more real to you than the truth. One of the most powerful tools they use is called DARVO. It stands for deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Here's how it works in real life. You notice something suspicious. You ask a question. Instead of answering, they deny, firmly, confidently, without hesitation. Then they attack. Suddenly you are the problem. You're always suspicious, you're insecure, you're trying to start a fight. And before you know it, you are apologizing to the person who just lied to your face. You came in with a question. You left feeling guilty. That is DARVO. And it works because it hijacks your emotional system faster than your logical mind can catch up. Then there is gaslighting. This is perhaps the most psychologically destructive tool in the liar's arsenal. Gaslighting doesn't just make you question what happened, it makes you question your own memory, your own perception, your own sanity. That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You're too sensitive. I never said that. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You start going to them to confirm your own reality. And once that happens, they have complete control. It is important to understand the difference between a situational liar, someone who lies occasionally out of fear or shame, and a pathological liar, someone for whom deception is a core operating system, a way of navigating the world. Situational liars can often be reached with honesty and safety. Pathological liars do not change easily. In fact, they often don't change at all. Robert Feldman, a professor of psychology at the University of Massachusetts, found that people lie more frequently in social interactions than they consciously realize, and that those who score higher in certain personality traits, like narcissism, lie with far more frequency, far more confidence, and far less guilt. Zero guilt. Think about that. While you lie awake at night questioning your own mind, they sleep just fine. That is who we are dealing with. Now let's talk about how to see them. Here is where things get practical. Because awareness without tools is just anxiety. And you didn't come here to feel more scared, you came here to feel more prepared. Let's start with their words. One of the most overlooked signals of deception is what psychologists call pronoun distancing. When someone is telling the truth about something they did, they naturally say, I went there. I said that. I did it. But when someone is lying, they unconsciously distance themselves from the story. Watch for phrases like, "Things happened. It was a situation. People were saying. Notice how I disappears." That is not an accident. The brain is trying to put space between the self and the lie. Another verbal signal is over-explanation. Truthful people give you enough detail to answer your question. Liars often drown you in unnecessary detail, specific times, specific names, specific irrelevant facts, because they have rehearsed the story and they want it to sound believable. If someone is telling you more than you asked for, ask yourself, why do they need me to believe this so badly? Look also for answer deflection. You ask a direct question and instead of answering, they ask you a question back. Or they suddenly bring up something you did weeks ago. Or they go quiet and say, "Why do you always do this?" A person with nothing to hide answers the question. A person with something to hide changes the subject. Now let's talk about behavior. Every person has a baseline, a normal, natural way of acting when they are relaxed and comfortable around you. Liars are exposed not by any single strange behavior, but by shifts from their baseline. Are they suddenly more affectionate right after a suspicious incident? That is called overcompensation. Are they suddenly more distant and irritable for no clear reason? That could be guilt or fear. Did their phone habits change? Do they leave the room to take calls? Did the small rituals of your relationship quietly disappear? None of these things alone confirm a lie. But a cluster of shifts, happening together, in a compressed time period, that is a signal worth paying attention to. And then there are micro-expressions, the brief, involuntary flashes of emotion that cross a person's face in less than a quarter of a second before they can control them. Dr. Paul Ekman, who spent a lifetime studying the human face, identified 7 universal micro-expressions: contempt, disgust, anger, fear, surprise, happiness, and sadness. The one to watch for most closely in a lying partner. Contempt. It is the one-sided lip curl, the subtle eye roll that comes and goes before they compose their face back into concern or innocence. Contempt means they feel superior to you in that moment. They believe they are getting away with it. And they are almost amused by how easy it is. If you ever catch that flash of contempt on someone who claims to love you, do not ignore it. Your gut already knows what it means. Here is something critical that most people miss. A single lie can be explained. A single odd behavior can be coincidence. But patterns do not lie. Patterns are the truth that emerges when someone has been hiding long enough. This is where experienced investigators, therapists, and psychologists separate themselves from the rest of us. They don't look at moments. They look at maps. They step back and ask, what has been happening over weeks, over months, over years? What is the shape of this person's behavior? One of the most powerful pattern detection tools you have is simply paying attention to consistency. Ask yourself, does their story stay the same every time it comes up? Or do small details shift? Does the timeline change? Do new characters suddenly appear or disappear? Liars rarely remember their exact lies. Truth is effortless, you don't have to remember it because it happened. But a fabricated story must be consciously recalled every single time, and over time, it drifts. Dates move. Details change. Names get confused. One detective technique you can use quietly is what I call the timeline shuffle. Instead of asking about a suspicious event from beginning to end, which is how they rehearsed it, ask about it out of order. Ask about the middle first. Then the end. Then the beginning. A truthful person can answer from any point in the story because they are accessing a real memory. A liar, working from a script, will stumble. There is also the phenomenon of supporting lie clusters. When someone tells one significant lie, they almost always need smaller lies to hold it up, like scaffolding around a weak structure. Pay attention to the small things that don't add up. The unexplained receipt. The story that doesn't quite match a date. The friend you've never met. The call they stepped out to answer. Individually, these feel like nothing. Together, they form a web. And every web, if you watch long enough, eventually reveals the spider at the center. Now I want to talk about something most videos in this space refuse to address. Because detecting a liar is only half the battle. The harder question is, why do we keep believing them even when we already know? If you have ever stayed with someone you suspected of lying, if you have ever accepted an explanation you knew in your gut was false, this section is for you. And I want you to hear this clearly. You are not weak. You are wired. There is a psychological phenomenon called intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Slot machines don't pay every time, they pay unpredictably. And that unpredictability creates a craving more powerful than any consistent reward ever could. A lying partner operates the same way, without always knowing it. Some days they are warm, loving, and perfect. Other days they are cold, dismissive, and deceptive. You never know which version you are going to get. And that unpredictability keeps you hooked. You keep chasing the good version. You keep believing this time will be different. Then there is the sunk cost fallacy. The more you have invested in a relationship, time, love, sacrifice, shared memories, the harder it becomes to accept that it was built on sand. Your mind tells you, I've put too much into this to walk away. So you rationalize. You minimize. You find reasons to stay. And finally, there is trauma bonding, an intense psychological attachment that can form in relationships where there are cycles of pain and relief, tension and affection. The bond formed in these cycles can be stronger than any calm, healthy relationship, because it is forged in emotional extremes. None of this is your fault. But all of it is your responsibility to understand. Because awareness is the first weapon. And you cannot protect yourself from a trap you refuse to see. So what do you actually do? You have the feeling. You've noticed the signals. You've identified the patterns. But you don't have proof yet. And confronting someone with a theory, without evidence, almost always backfires. They deny. They attack. They make you feel crazy. And now they are more careful. So here is what you do instead, you test quietly. Strategically. Without showing your hand. The first technique is the bait question. Ask about something you already know the full, true answer to. Ask casually, as if you're just making conversation. Watch how they answer. Do they tell you the truth? Do they embellish? Do they lie even about something small and irrelevant? A person who lies to you about something they don't need to lie about is telling you something important about who they are. The second technique is the timeline shuffle, which we touched on earlier. Revisit a story they've told you before, but ask about it differently this time. Wait, I can't remember, where did you say you were at the beginning of that evening? Listen for hesitation. Watch for the eyes going slightly upward as they try to reconstruct the script. Compare the new answer to what they said before. The third technique is strategic silence. When someone says something suspicious, most people rush to respond, to challenge, to question, to react. Instead, go quiet. Just nod slightly, or say nothing. Most people, especially liars, cannot tolerate silence. It makes them deeply uncomfortable. And discomfort makes people fill the space. A liar filling uncomfortable silence will over-explain, contradict themselves, or accidentally reveal far more than you would have gotten from any direct question. These are not manipulation tactics. This is self-protection. You are simply creating conditions where the truth can surface on its own. Use them calmly. Use them patiently. And let the evidence come to you. And then comes the moment. The moment when you stop wondering and you know. Maybe it was the timeline that finally collapsed. Maybe it was a message you weren't supposed to see. Maybe it was the look on their face when you asked the bait question and they didn't realize you already knew the answer. Whatever it was, you know now. And knowing changes everything. I want to be honest with you about what this moment feels like, because no one tells you. It is not relief. It is not clarity. It is grief. It is a strange, hollow feeling, like the floor dropping out from under a house you thought was solid. Everything looks the same, but nothing is the same. That is normal. That is human. But here is what you must not do: do not react immediately. The worst thing you can do in this moment is confront them explosively, without a plan. Because a skilled liar, especially one who has been operating for a long time, has a defense prepared for the moment of exposure. They will deny more aggressively. They will make it about you. They will try to rewrite the moment in real time. Instead, think like a chess player who has just seen the trap. You don't rush. You choose your next move. You have 3 paths in front of you. The first is direct confrontation, facing them with what you know, clearly and calmly, and deciding where to go from there. The second is continued observation, gathering more evidence, creating more clarity before you act. The third is quiet exit, beginning to protect yourself emotionally, financially, and practically before they even know you've made a decision. There is no single right answer. It depends on your situation, your safety, your resources. But whichever path you choose it deliberately. Choose it from a place of power, not panic. Because you deserve truth. Not just about them. About yourself, too. About what you will and will not accept. About the life you are going to build from here. Knowing is power, even when it hurts. You watched this for a reason. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something more urgent than that. Maybe, somewhere deep down, you already knew you needed this. Whatever brought you here, I want you to take one thing with you when you leave. Truth is not your enemy. Comfortable lies are. The pain of knowing is temporary. The damage of not knowing can last years. Choosing awareness, choosing to see clearly, even when clarity is uncomfortable, is one of the most powerful decisions a person can make. You are not powerless. You are not paranoid. You are awake. And awake is exactly where you need to be. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a magnifying glass tilted left in the comments right now if someone came to mind while you were watching this video. You don't have to say who. Just let me know this reached you. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs it. You might never know how much that matters. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers something even more unsettling: how manipulators choose their targets and what makes certain people more vulnerable than others. Trust me, you want to be there for that one. Until then, stay aware. Stay sharp. And choose truth every single time.